backdrop here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Porcel, Sean.
It looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Doms, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 the lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons. Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to round number 5 of the iFormula League Formula 3 Series. We are here today in Austria at the Red Bull Ring, and my name is Mason Heimball with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here today, 1080p, 60 frames a second, nice and early on a Sunday evening, and just a little bit before the real-life Formula 1 race begins here. So just a little bit of action to start off your day here before the actual before the actual lights go off here for the race here in Jeddah. Excuse me. My brain had a brain fart there for a second. Anyhow, drivers are currently underway under their qualifying session here at the moment and going to get things going here for the first time. So as drivers begin to make their way around the track, already a few drivers having put in some lap times here, and let's go ahead and see what those times currently are. Or rather, as drivers begin to make their way out onto track and begin their qualifying runs here. And the first few drivers out on track, and really quite a handful of drivers that we have here: Jake Potts, James Miller, Randolph Smith, John Journey, Danny O'Keefe, Stuart Gibbons, Tycho Krigsman. I think that's how that's pronounced. Among other drivers here, Andre Slander, Andy Miller, Rachel Jimenez, Jeff Schroeder, Marian Barbaro, Victor Salona, Cody Grahams, all drivers that we've seen, well, a lot of drivers that we've seen last week, in last week's previous race here, excuse me, as I'm a little lost for words at the moment. But Jake Potts going to be the first driver to come across the line here for the first time with a 124.739, just ahead of second place sitter at the moment, Marian Barbaro, with a 125.087. So a few drivers coming in behind Jake Potts here with that 125 time, and Jake Potts going to be with Team Knox Esports, Motorsports, as I should say, looking to dominate the team championship here, as right now there's only about 30 points separating themselves from that first place spot, as Intend Sim Racing currently holds that spot currently in the team championship. Intend Sim Racing going to have drivers John Journey, Jeff Schroeder, and Alex Johnson as their 3 drivers. Knox Esports, James Moller, Weston Epps, who I believe was a fill-in driver, a replacement driver for last week's race. Jake Potts and Cody Graham's going to be also along with Knox Esports. Get Good Racing in 3rd place in the team championship with Tycho Krigsman, Ryan Barbaro, Victor Salona, and Jack Clark all in that team. Orion Legendary Racing in 4th place with Frederick Larson, Danny O'Keefe, and Abdul Aliyu. In that team. I do apologize again if I'm getting some of these names incorrect here. I promise I will do my absolute best. But Jake Potts is currently still the man to beat, as actually, right as I speak, Cody Graham's in the 101 machine. His teammate going to be up on the top of the pole now, the 123, as drivers start to warm those tires up, get themselves dialed in here for their qualifying. Now, 25-minute session that we have here for qualifying, and this is kind of a good look, a good perspective into what drivers' short run speed is kind of going to be like here, or really their 1, 2, 3 lap pace is going to look like throughout this race. Now, again, this is 25 minutes worth of qualifying, so drivers can theoretically stay out for as long as they want to. They could stay out the entire 25 minutes and utilize all of that time and to maximize their pace as much as they possibly can, and essentially that is going to be the name of the game here. So Cody Graham's going to be the driver to beat here at the moment, with Jake Potts, his teammate, with Knox E Motorsports, taking the 1 and 2 spot at the moment in the front row at the moment, but still about 20 minutes left before we see the checkered flag officially fly and the grid is officially set. But Tycho Krigsman sitting in 3rd place at the moment, going a little off there as he comes out of the 2nd to last turn, or 3rd to last turn. Excuse me. It has been quite a little while since I have done a broadcast here at Red Bull Ring, so you'll have to excuse me as I'm still trying to remember all of the turn names here. But Krigsman doing a phenomenal job here, staying up in the top 3 for himself and Team Get Good Racing, as, again, there continues to be battles for the team championship here in round 5. And again, with Intend Sim Racing and Knox E Motorsports, only about, it looks to be about 36, 37 points separating these 2 teams between one another. So very, very close between them, and that is only just the team championship. As far as the drivers championship is concerned, things get a little bit more interesting. My apologies. Alex Johnson going to be the driver currently dominating the drivers championship at the moment, and I say dominating because there is a massive gap between himself and Marian Barbaro, who's currently in 2nd place. Alex Johnson with 208 points, and Marian with 129 points, and Cody Graham's with 119 points. So 2nd place has a little bit of a battle forming for the drivers championship. But as far as the Constructors Championship, the Team Championship, however you would like to call it here, it is a lot of battles, a lot of excitement to be had for this year, for this season, and for these teams and drivers. So, frankly, as Alex Johnson now takes the pole with a 123.775, the 196 machine for Team Get Good Racing, or excuse me, for Team Intend Sim Racing. That will put Cody Graham's in James Miller and Jake Potts, all 3 on Knox E Motorsports, just behind him in the top 3, as well as in 4th place, with Tycho Krigsman going to fall into 5th place. So, looking good here for Knox E Motorsports. They are looking quite dominant here, with Alex Johnson all on his lonesome up here in the top 5 here for Intend Sim Racing, but he's got a little bit of help behind the top 5 in the likes of Jeff Schroeder as well as John Journey. who's currently not having as good of a qualifying as he may have hoped for here today. John Journey with a 125.46, currently sitting 15th here in qualifying. So not exactly the best day here for Johnson. But as we look around the field, take a look at other drivers throughout today's race here. And also take a look at our take a look at our chat here. We've got Volker Weinbusch, Alex DeGreat, and iRace are all saying good evening in Germany, good afternoon in Florida, and good afternoon from a suspension. So that's phenomenal. Thank you guys. Welcome to the show. Thank you all for tuning in, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the little bit of qualifying that we are getting here before we get things started for our official race. Just a little over 15 minutes to go before we see the checkered flag fly and determine who is going to start where on the grid. And right now, the top three looking to be rather interesting for a lot of different drivers here, and especially for Knox, Team Knox, with Cody Grams, James Miller, Jake Potts, all 2, 3, and 4 respectively. They are looking to lock out that podium here today, as they are looking rather dominant with Alex Johnson with Intense Sim Motorsport. Intense Sim Racing, excuse me. Got to work on these names. But Alex Johnson coming away with that pole position thus far, and by a few tenths here as well, about 0.3 of a second separating Johnson and Grams from that pole position. So as we're seeing Justin Pastori come to a stop there, the number 65 machine just beyond the checkered line there, or the finish line there. We're going to tune into Andy Ray Miller in the 333 machine. Andy Ray Miller going to be with Team Maxwell Racing Team, who's currently sitting 5th in that team championship. So the 333 machine, along with his teammates Arturo Mayorga and Randy Smith, going to be his two teammates in this series. Arturo currently in the pits at the moment. His other teammate, Randy Smith, I don't believe is... Nope, he is here. He is just under the name of Randolph Smith here in the simulator. So 13th at the moment here for Smith, and for his teammate Arturo, who's currently in the pits and has yet to turn a lap here at Red Bull Ring. Not having an official time here, is not officially on the timing and scoring list. So we'll have to wait and see if Arturo is going to make a lap here today, as Johnson, Grams, Muller, they continue to dominate the top three. Jeff Schroeder, meanwhile, though, as he's now making his way back out of pit road, Schroeder currently comes into 4th place here. But Jeff Schroeder coming into 4th place there, excuse me for that. But Schroeder sitting in that 4th place with a 123.86. A lot of these drivers, the top 7, all in that 23-second margin and only separated by a few tenths of a second. From there, we've got roughly 6 drivers that are all in that 124 neighborhood, and beyond it is around the 125. Again, it surprises me to see just how consistent a lot of these drivers are here, and how close they are in time with one another. It is just amazing to see the level of talent that we have here in this series. We're going to get a look on board here with the 333 machine, Andy Ray Miller, and kind of get a lap on board here at Red Bull Ring, and just get an idea of what it's like here with the Formula 3s. Not a track that I don't think I have driven myself with the Formula 3 specifically. Maybe I have. It's been a while. Miller sending it real hard into the final turns here, and having missed pit road here. A little bit of a mistake there on Miller's end, but correcting it as he makes his way back down and getting that car back down into pit road. And a little bit of calamity here on the track. Schroeder going to come to a stop, and it looks to be, at the moment, no one is going to really outpace seemingly the top 5 at the moment. There's yet to be anyone to respond to the times that these drivers have put up here. And looking at the last times, we've got someone a little out of shape here. Just on the exit of turn 2. But as I was saying, in the top 5, no one is yet to respond to these top 5 drivers as far as pace is concerned. So really, I think we might see the field be set here. There's only a few drivers that have yet to put down a lap here. That being Arturo Mayorga, Cuthbert Voltix, and Nick Marshall, that all need to come out onto the track if they choose to do so, and put down a lap time here and see where they're going to place themselves on the timing tower, on the grid here, as there is only just under 10 minutes, 9 minutes left to go here before we see the checkered flag fly here in our qualifying session. And at the moment, so far, Alex Johnson is the driver who has put down the most number of laps here in the session thus far. The 196 having been out for now 10 laps, working on his 11th lap at the moment. So with Alex Johnson kind of having the benchmark here and also getting a little bit of a short run in here before we actually go green is more or less kind of going to help prepare you going into the start of this race here today. So, as that might be obvious for some, having 25 minutes for qualifying is not something that we get to see very often. So Victor Salona, as we're getting ourselves back on track here, our leaders have gone, looked like they went down into pit road there. They might have just stopped on track and got a quick tow back into pit road there, but a couple drivers making their way back out onto track here, as it looks like we've had Cuthbert, who was sitting down in pit road for a little while, make his way out onto track and start putting in some laps here as well. Currently sitting at the bottom of the timing tower at the moment, but we'll see if that's going to improve here over the next couple minutes, see what kind of pace he's going to have here. So unsurprising to see that our championship leader in the Drivers' Championship, Alex Johnson, currently dominating the field. Well, I say dominating, but only by a tenth of a second here in qualifying. So he's still got a lot of work ahead of him in both the feature and the sprint race that we are going to see here today. 28 laps in our feature and 7 laps for our sprint race here today. And there's also quite an interesting dynamic that we are going to see here as far as pit road is concerned. Roughly 9 to 19 laps is our pit window for today's race, which is absolutely insanity. How this is going to play out for our field, for these drivers, is yet to be determined, but I gotta say, it is going to be very interesting to see, to say the least. And Marian Barbaro taking up third place here in qualifying, in kind of sneaking up on me out of nowhere with Get Good Racing. So kind of splitting up the field here for Team Knox, as Cody Graham still holding on to that second place spot, but James Miller in fourth place, and Jake Potts having fallen down into sixth here at this moment. So these, again, Team Knox going to have a little bit of separation between them. They don't quite have the same domination that they had here in the top three, the top five that we saw earlier on in qualifying, as we are now just under 5 minutes left to go before we see that checkered flag. So time is running out for drivers, for teams, to get the best placement that they can and to hopefully try and secure a good starting position here for today's race. And I gotta say, a good starting position on a track like Red Bull Ring is going to be absolutely crucial, especially when you only have the first right-hander of turn one in a long straight. These cars, they don't have DRS or anything of that nature, so it's not that is essential here in this sort of race, but it's going to be very tough to make passes here early on, or at least, well, later on, once things start to span out a little bit. It's going to be very tough if you are not right on the tail of the driver ahead of you, because once things start to get spread out, things are going to be very difficult to close back in once things are at that point. But at the moment, it looks to be the top five are going to remain the same for the most part. It looks like James Miller actually has pushed Jeff Schroeder out of that fourth place position, as I'm looking here a little bit further. But Miller going to be taking fourth place here in the number 9 machine. So Team Knox definitely still having a strong presence here in the top five, and hopefully going to capitalize on that here going into the start of today's event. But not all drivers are looking at the bigger picture. Some drivers are looking at their own success. Not saying that anyone here is doing that, but some drivers, if they see a competition ahead of them, that is what they're gonna take advantage of it. They're gonna try and capitalize on that. But that is without saying, that goes without saying that there are drivers out there who are looking at the bigger picture as far as team championships and so on and so forth. Teams that work very, very well together with one another. And it looks like Marian Barbaro, as well as teammate, I believe that was Tycho Krigsman, just up ahead in 7th place, trying to get a flying lap in here before things are rounded out here. But with Marian in that top 3 spot, Tycho also going to look to try and put himself potentially into the top 5 or even further. Let's see what's going to happen here as they come across the line. Is it going to be enough here for Tycho? I don't think it will be. A 123.96 was the last lap that Tycho had here, and not going to be enough. About 5 tenths of a second off from first place driver Alex Johnson here. You can actually see Tycho's time here through Sector 1 as well as Sector 2 here once it pops up. And Jeff Schroeder, it will show in there, but is not currently on track, so it won't show a comparison to Schroeder's time here. But a 21.028 in Sector 1 here for Tycho, and I wish it was a little bit neater as it is for, you know, things like Formula 1 broadcast, but we get what we have, and we work with what we can. So hopefully it's enough here. We'll try and utilize that more throughout today's broadcast and throughout the future. But Alex Johnson continuing to improve. Or excuse me, that is the same time that he put there. I thought he just put in a flying lap that he just improved on. But the checkered flag is going to wave here as time has round up here for qualifying at the Red Bull Ring for round number 5 of the iFormula League Formula 3 Series. And we are going to go ahead and go through our starting grid. Alex Johnson, Cody Graham's in the front row, Marian Barbaro, Jake Potts in the second row, James Miller and Jeff Schroeder taking up the third row, Tycho Krigsman, Victor Solona in the fourth row, Andy Ray Miller, Rachel Jimenez in our sixth row, Andre Solander, John Journey in our sixth row. As we move ourselves down the grid, Andy Ray Miller, nope, never mind, Randolph Smith, Justin Pasori in our seventh row, Danny O'Keefe, Stuart Gibbons in our eighth row, Cuthbert Voltex, Nick Marshall in our eighth row, and Arturo Mayorga in our ninth row. All by his lonesome here for the start of our first the start of our first race of the day here, which will be, I'm pretty sure, is going to be our 28 laps, our feature race, if you will. But as we still have just about 40 seconds left to go before the 5 red lights come on, and we await for drivers to send things off here for the very first time here today at Red Bull Ring. And a good look of the field here as we prepare for this amazing start here. And here we go. 5 red lights, and out we go. And starting off into the front of the field, Alex Johnson to a very good start here off into turn number 1. A little 3-wide action here as drivers make their way through the sharp right-hander and off onto the long straightaway heading into turn number 2. A few drivers bobbing and weaving through the field here. Few teammates trying to work their way around some opponents here, and it looks like the top, oh boy, big calamity here. It is a massive pileup just on the exit of turn 2, and it continues to get worse here as drivers continue to stack up into one another. We've got to go back and look at this one here, folks. It just got worse and worse as things went on here. A little bit too far back here. And there it is. All 3 drivers from Get Good Racing all getting stacked into one another. And more drivers beyond that here as well. But no caution coming out from it here in the 28-lap feature here at Red Bull Ring as racing continues around the track here. Andy Ray Miller fending off Jeff Schroeder, Andre Solander here for the 5th place spot as they exit the final turn and onto the front straightaway and across the line here at Red Bull Ring. Very good racing here from these drivers. Andy Ray Miller gonna see Schroeder looking right on his rear wing as they come back down the long straight heading into turn number 2 as we ride on board here with Jeff Schroeder. Andre Solander going to be right on the inside here going into turn number 2. Solander Great exit there from Miller as well. Miller going to stay out in front here in the 333 machine. Andy Ray Miller off to a good start here for Maxwell Racing Team as he's currently into the 5th place spot and trying to hold off these two drivers here of Andre Solander and Jeff Schroeder. Great racing between these drivers, as that was a great onboard view here with the number 73 driver as this battle continues on. Great racing, almost wheel to wheel between Solander and Schroeder here. Solander going to be the one to come out on top of that battle here as they work their way out. Now as they exit turn number 10 and across the checkered line here, or across the white line here on the road courses, I always forget that road courses don't always have the checkered line. I'm so used to my oval commentary. That just happens to slip out every now and then. But at the moment, it appears to be that we've had a few drivers not start today's race here as well. Danny O'Keefe falling out after the first lap. I'm assuming after that first, after the bundle of cars that we had out of turn 2, Tycho Krigsman and Arturo Mayorga, neither one of those drivers taking the start here in today's race. So now as things start to settle out here between the field and between a lot of our drivers, really, Alex Johnson currently dominating the track with just about a 1.5-second gap between himself and Cody Grams. You can see that on the left-hand side of your screen, and we can also pull up the track map here as well on the bottom right-hand side of our screen, so you can take a look at that here if you would like to as well. And it looks like Jake Potts closing in on teammate Cody Grams here with Team Knox. And James Molaire also kind of lurking there in the background. So, I don't know, Alex Johnson might have a bit of work cut out for him, but they first have to close that gap between themselves and Johnson before they can even make that sort of assumption here. Looking at timing and scoring, the pace between Grams and Johnson is slowly but surely starting to improve here, but only just. So we'll have to wait and see just how much that's going to improve here for these drivers. But let's take a look on board here with Jake Potson. You can look on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. You can see the dashboard, if you will, just how fast we're going, what gear Potts is currently in, and just kind of get an idea of what it's like to take a lap around Red Bull Ring in a Formula 3 car. So down all the way into third gear, great exit here from Potts, using as much of the curbing as he can on the exit of turn number 1 there. And it's a bit of a blind turn that you have going into turn number 1. You don't necessarily see the apex of, you don't necessarily see where you're going to be coming out of when you go into that turn, so you're kind of blind guessing. Well, maybe not necessarily guessing, but hoping that you're going to end up in the right spot once you come over that hill. But down here, heading into what I believe is turn number 4 rather. And now down in through what is eloquently called the power horse through turns 6 and 7, and now right now going through 7. And as I was talking there just a little bit and looking at the time now between Johnson and Grams, it seems to be these two drivers really are going to have a tough time trying to track down Johnson here. It seems the pace of that 196 machine is very, very good right now. But luckily for Team Knox, they are going to have a very, very good day for the team championship, with a lot of points contributing to that Constructors Championship here for their performance here today, with second, third, and fourth place potentially being taken here as we continue our race here today. And again, things relatively settled out here for the most part. We'll take a look at some of the drivers throughout the field here, but not a whole lot of battles happening. You can see that on the left-hand side of your screen. The only closest quote-unquote battle that we have is that of Jake Potts and Cody Grams, which these two are teammates. They're not necessarily going to be fighting tooth and nail for that position, and there's also still about a second between them. So a little bit of distance separating those drivers, but for the rest of the field, it is quite a bit of a different story, as Jeff Schroeder appears to have I think Jeff Schroeder might have just left the session here. I don't see anything that happened to Schroeder, but it looks like the 73 has left the race for whatever reason. Unfortunate to see that happen here, but that seems to be the case. And now starting to see some battles developing towards the tail of the field, or rather the midfield, with Nick Marshall, Stuart Gibbons, and Marian Barbaro. And Nick Marshall going to be with team Nick Marshall going to be with Team Wolfpack Racing, along with Stuart Gibbons and Tristan Marshall, who Tristan does not seem to be here in today's race, but for Gibbons and Marshall, these two teammates here, but Gibbons going to be right on the tail of Marian Barbaro. Marian going to be with Team Get Good Racing. So these two going to have a bit of a battle here for 12th place, and just behind them, John Journey as well as Nick Marshall having a relatively close bout here. As Journey's going to make his way through turn number 4, and now through 5, 6, and 7. And relatively smooth for most of the field here after that first incident that we had in lap number 1. So nothing else major coming from that after that bit of, well, I say bit of, we had quite a bit of contact there just out of turn 1, with a bunch of cars getting into one another. We can actually go back and take another look at that replay here for just a second here while we have a little bit of time. But here it is. Here's the replay back into turn number 2, excuse me. And just one after another. And it just keeps getting worse as drivers getting interlocked with one another's wheels, spinning out into the grass. It is just absolute calamity all over the field for that first lap. So, and I do believe that there was at least one driver that retired from the race after that. So I frankly, I don't blame them. But that does appear to be the case here. And John Journey looks to be steadily moving through this field, has some fairly good pace here. I'm not sure how quickly, if he's going to catch up to Marian, as we're now officially entered into our official pit window. I'm not sure if anyone's going to come into pit road right now, but there is a good chance of it. Again, our pit window for this feature race is 9 to 19 laps, which is just absolute insanity. I don't think I've ever heard of a pit window that was 10 laps in size, especially on a road course. Ovals, that's pretty normal, I would say. But on road courses, it's a bit of a different story. That is quite the gap. So we may see some interesting strategies be played out here today. We might not. It all kind of depends on what sort of mood the drivers are in today, but we'll just have to wait and see if that's going to be the case here today. But right now, continuing on, John Journey, Stuart Gibbons, they're having a little bit of a loose tango with 413th at the moment. Cuthbert and Victor Solano starting to close in on one another here. And let's take a moment here to ride on board from the helmet camera here of Victor Solano and just see what the pace is going to be like here for the number 99 driver as he makes his way out of turn number 10 and across the white line here at Red Bull Ring, heading back into turn number 1. And you can see in the rear view mirror the number 55 of Cuthbert. Now just about a second behind him, as very good work here from Victor Solano, as seems to be our cameras having a little bit of connection troubles here to the headset of the number 55, but that is a-okay. There's still plenty of action to cover here at Red Bull Ring. Lap 10 of 28, just a little before our official halfway mark here today, and still quite a bit of racing left to be done here. But drivers putting in lap times of about a minute and a half, about a minute 24 seconds is what we're seeing at the moment for drivers on the fast side of things, and you can see that on the left-hand side of your screen as drivers come across the line. And Alex Johnson continuing to dominate this race here today, having led all 11 laps that we've had here at Red Bull so far. So Johnson, again, the driver to look out for and really to kind of pay attention to here, as, I mean, we really haven't covered him too much during this broadcast, given how much distance he's put between himself and second place, but the attention is still there on that 196 machine as he continues to, again, just dominate his performance here today at Red Bull Ring. And looking at the battle between John Journey and Stuart Gibbons start to develop here a little bit further, as Gibbons going to be right on, almost on the rear wing of that 31 machine, trying to close the gap here just a little bit more. And you could see it for just a second there, just a second ago from that camera angle, looking at turn number 2. A few drivers also getting a little bit close to one another. We've got Victor Solano and Randolph Smith, about a half a second between these two drivers. We can take a look at that here. The battle for 8th place starting to develop just a little bit more as we continue to await for our pit stops to take place here. When that eventually happens here, we'll have to wait and see how that's going to develop here. Marian Barbaro, Cuthbert Voltix, both going to have a little bit of a drag down the front straightaway for the 11th place spot, and Marian going to be the one to come out on top of that with quite a bit of speed here from that number 13 machine. The Get Good Racing team driver trying to work their way back up into the top 10 here, as his other teammate Victor Solano here in 8th place fends off the 37 of Randolph Smith. As, again, these drivers staying very consistent, very clean with their lap times here, and not showing a whole lot of inconsistency really at all. Looking at timing and scoring, I mean, these drivers are clicking off lap times that are within only a few tenths of a second of each other. As we see Rachel Jimenez going to come down into pit road here, as Red Bull Ring seems to not have the best camera angles down in the pits here, but Rachel going to make her way down to pit stall and be the first driver to kick off pit stops here today. Rachel going to be with Team Lumos Motorsports. And her teammates for today, I don't think she has any teammates here today, but her teammates are Eric Magnuson, Alex Gutnick, and Andrew Bedrosian. That are unfortunately not here today for the race here at Red Bull Ring, but Rachel making an appearance here for Lumos Motorsports and trying to secure as many points as she can for both the Drivers and Constructors Championship here as well. But again, the first driver to make their way down into the pits within our pit window here, and only a few more laps until we reach the theoretical end of that pit window. So I'm curious to see when some of our leaders are going to make that move down into pit road and try and, well, get fuel, get tires, and see what they're going to do in these final few laps. This is when they're going to be probably the fastest, again, since the start of today's race. So I'm curious to see if there's going to be any battles develop as we start to see pit road become a little bit more active here with John Journey, the 31 machine, the Canadian, can make his way down into the pits here, into his stall, and begin his pit stop for today's race. Checking back in with our top 5, though, and Andy Ray Miller currently sitting in that 5th place spot here in the 333 machine. Andy Ray Miller going to be with Team Maxwell Racing. So having a good day here for Team Maxwell and trying to get some good points here in the Constructors Championship. But seems to be most of the field has fairly well settled out here, and we can actually see just how many, just where drivers have come in into pit road here. You can see that on the left side of your screen. If there isn't anything next to their name, that indicates that they have not come down into pit road yet. So our top 6 have yet to come down into pit road. Really, realistically, our top 11 have yet to come down into pit road. And as I say that, Justin Pasori going to be amongst the first few drivers to start their pit stops here. So Pasori, the number 65 driver, making their way through pit road here. Pasori with Team Mercury Motorsports, his teammates Ted Kuhlman and Paul Ayala. I don't think neither of his teammates are here today either, which is unfortunate to see. But Rachel Jimenez and Cuthbert Voltex both going to have a bit of a battle here for 10th place, and we can take a look at that here out the rear view, kind of here, almost. Almost could get a good view there of the number 55, but instead we'll take a ride on board on the front wing, almost here, of the 55 machine. I think we're actually on the nose. Real wide here on the final turn for Cuthbert, but still managing to stay within a second of the 67 driver of Rachel Jimenez. Stuart Gibbons, John Journey, Nick Marshall, they're all going to make their way down into pit road now here as well. Gibbons actually making his way out of pit road. It looks like Journey... Journey, Marshall all making their way in and out of pit road here. Gibbons making his stop. And Victor Solano here as well, just now coming down into pit road. So slowly but surely starting to see the rest of the field come down into the pits as we start to see the battle for first place start to close in here just a little bit. Cody Graham's starting to see the rear end of that 196 machine as we are closing in on 10 laps left to go here at Red Bull Ring. Graham's within a second, about 3/4 of a second to be exact. You can see that still on the left-hand side of our screen as we get a look on board here, and Graham's looking very, very fast here. So as tires have gotten to the point now where I believe they're probably pretty well degraded for these two drivers, or at least at the very least going to be very near to the wire at this point, I would have to imagine. But Grahams and Johnson, they're going to continue to stay out here and see what they can do. And let's actually take a look and see what the lap time history is like between Johnson and Grahams. You can see that on the bottom of our screens now. Grahams and Johnson kind of going back and forth between one another as far as who is faster, and it looks like Johnson losing quite a bit of time here in lap 14, 15, and 17. Let's see how much time he's going to gain or lose here once they come across the line here again, as they're going to opt to stay out one more lap, and maybe potentially more here as this fight continues on for first place, or realistically, and actually, right as we cross the line there, Cody Graham's actually completed his, I think that was his fastest lap of the race here, with a 123.76 coming from the 101, and I believe that's correct. That was his last time by. I think it was invalidated by iRacing because of potential track limits being overreached here. That's why it's not being displayed on the bottom of our screens. But I think that's correct here in that Graham's, well, with the exception of the track limits, did set his fastest lap of the race so far. But again, I think it was invalidated by iRacing. And here goes Johnson, Grahams, both coming down into pit road, 1 and 2. And let's see how this is going to shake things up here for these drivers, as we've got a little bit of a battle happening here for 7th place heading on into turn number 2. Or rather, turn number 3, as iRacing's track info describes it. But that's neither here nor there, as Rachel Jimenez going to continue to fight off Andre Solander, and so far doing a good job here, keeping just over a second between herself and Andre in the 140 machine. So still quite a bit of distance to close here for Andre to get near the rear wing, or in a situation to be able to fight for position here. And it looks like Johnson, Grahams both having made their way in and out of pit road. Johnson going to have a roughly just over a 3-second gap between himself and Cody Grahams here. So for Alex Johnson, it looks like he is going to secure the win for himself in Intense Sim Racing, as well as add a few more points to his lead in the Drivers' Championship. But for Cody Grahams, James Miller, Jake Potts, it is going to be a good day for Knox E Motorsports, as they're going to have second, third, and fourth place theoretically locked out here once the checkered flag flies in about 8 laps. While the racing has settled out here quite a bit, I want to take this moment. I want to thank everyone who's tuned in today, everyone who's watching the broadcast. Thank you all for tuning in and watching and interacting with us in the chat. And to all of our sponsors here for the iFormula League Series. Butt Kicker, Extreme Scoring, just to name the two. There is one more, but I can't ever remember the name for it. But thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you to all of our fans who tune in each and every single week. And thank you to the drivers and to the leagues that allow us here at Team Goon Squad to put the shows on for you all and bring you all the action every week in and week out. So with just about 7 laps left to go here, the action is dwindling down to the final hour here at Red Bull Ring. And once we wrap things up here for the feature race, we will see a 7-lap sprint to finish out our events here today at Red Bull Ring. So once that gets started, I believe there is... Never mind. I think I'm thinking of different rules here, but we will see a 7-lap sprint here, and I certainly believe that we will see an exciting 7 laps for the sprint here today, as the action here kind of got a little messed with on the opening lap here at Red Bull Ring, coming out of turn 2, turn 3. Having the entire field bunched up the way that it did, it really, I think, put a wrench in the gears for a lot of drivers and their runs here today. So hopefully the sprint race will see a little bit of a better start and hopefully not have so much of a hindrance to a lot of drivers' race here today, as much as I think it had on the start of today's feature. Five laps left to go here at Red Bull Ring, and it is quite quite a calm few laps that we have left here before the checkered flag is flown. And when I say calm, I mean you can see it on the left-hand side of your screens, but for those of you who may just be listening to the broadcast itself, there is gap times of anywhere between a second and a half to 20 seconds, 50 seconds in some cases. It's all over the place at the moment. There is drivers all over, spread out to every inch of this racetrack at this moment, and I don't know if there's going to be any sort of battles that develop here before the checkered flag flies, and that's simply just due to the fact that these drivers have all driven so well throughout this feature that I don't see any sort of mistakes, major mistakes, might I add, being made here before that checkered flag flies. So I think things will be relatively calm and steady here going into our final couple laps that we have here. Taking a little look on board here with some drivers as we await to close out today's race, and really just ultimately looking to see if anyone's going to make any sort of mistakes here before this race is over. And again, as I mentioned, I just don't believe that we are going to see any major mistakes being made here. I mean, we'll see a little off-track situation here and there, some drivers just taking full advantage of the full racetrack, but for the most part, I think it's going to be a relatively calm finish for a lot of these drivers, having as much clean air around them, relatively open racetrack around them. It's, again, going to be a calm finish for these drivers here and for today's feature, which, as I've said already, I fully believe had a lot to do with lap one, opening lap here in turn number 3, the exit there with all of our drivers getting bunched up and bundled up and piled into one another definitely hindered the overall race here today for all of our teams, all of our drivers. I mean, some drivers in teams able to come out fairly well. Team Knox is definitely one of those teams. Alex Johnson also can be considered one of those drivers, having been able to build up that gap as quickly as he was able to. But I don't think those are the sole reasons for today's outcome, I should say. A little bit of a wobble there from Andre from that rear end, trying to keep things together. In turn 3, that exit there, kind of a weird elevation change as you're going through that turn on turn 3. So got to be very careful. You have to be very mindful of your weight management as you're going through that turn. You don't want to unsettle the car, as it's very, very easy to do. But it looks like this will be our final lap of today's race, or soon will be, as Alex Johnson going to be working through turns, I believe, 6 and 7 right now. And through the final few turns, he will go and across the line, bringing out the white flag here for today's feature at Red Bull Ring for the iFormula League Formula 3 Series. So as the white flag is out here, and the final time that drivers will make their way around the track here at Red Bull Ring, Alex Johnson, Cody Grams, James Miller, all three of these drivers going to take away a very, very dominant win here for their team, for themselves. As we get prepared and get ready to move into our sprint race for today. Still a few more turns left to go here for these drivers, but for the most part, again, I think it's going to be smooth sailing for a lot of, really for the entire field here. So out of turn number 10, Alex Johnson going to celebrate as he comes across the line here, taking home the win for today's feature race here at Red Bull Ring. A very, very good finish for Johnson. Cody Grams coming in second place with his teammate James Miller, going to exit turn number 10 and come across the line himself, taking home a pole finish here today. In the number 9 machine, Jake Potts as well, another teammate joining them just outside the podium here today, but still finishing out very well for the Constructors Championship as well as for the Drivers Championship here as well. Andy Ray Miller coming across the line for fifth place, and Rachel Jimenez and Andre Solander, I believe. That's the 55 of Cuthbert Voltex coming across the line in 13th, and Rachel takes it home in 6th place. Andre Solander in 7th, Victor Solona in 8th place, Marian Barbaro in 9th place, and Randolph Smith as he makes his way out of the final turn here and across the white line. He will take it home for 10th place here today, as that is going to round out our results for our sprint here today. And let's go ahead and get a quick interview in with those drivers very quickly while we have a little bit of time here to work with. Let's see if we can pull any one of these drivers in here. I don't think we'll be able to, unfortunately. It does not seem like we will have that opportunity here today, but that is a-okay. We'll try and pull that off next time, but the driver's going to have a little bit of time here to warm up and get themselves ready to kick off the start of the sprint race here today. 7 laps that we will see to finish out today's events. But for the meantime, we're going to take a little bit of a break here in the booth. We'll step away, come back, and when we do, we will go through our starting lineup for the sprint race here today and see just how our sprint is going to go here today. Stay tuned, folks. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be back for more iRacing right here on Team Goon Squad. All right, welcome back, race fans, as we see the checkered flag for our little bit of a warm-up here for drivers. And we get ourselves ready to go for our sprint race here today. And let's go ahead and run through our starting lineup here for the sprint race. John Journey, Justin Pasori going to be up in the front row. Randolph Smith, Marion Barbaro. Taking up the second row, Victor Solona, Andre Solander in our third row. Rachel Jimenez and Andy Miller, excuse me, in our fourth row. Jake Potts and James Malaire in our fifth row. Cody Grahams and Alex Johnson in our sixth row. Cuthbert Voltex, Nick Marshall in our 7th row, Stuart Gibbons and Jeff Schroeder in our 8th row, Danny O'Keefe and Tycho Krigsman in our 9th row, and Arturo Mayorga in our 9th row here today. And I don't think the last 3 drivers will be starting in today's race, as they were not here for our feature. And the lights are out, and away we go for the first time here for the sprint race. 7 laps that we will see just how will it go. Good work through the first turn. A little bit of side-by-side action between Team Knox, but let's look up ahead here towards the top 3. Randolph Smith, Justin Pastore looking to secure the top spots here, as Randolph Smith going to exit turn 2 successful and holding off second place here. John Journey driving away from this field here, as we've got some excellent battles here for 4th place side by side, almost wheel to wheel, as they come on to turn number 4 here between Victor Solona and Justin Pastore. Victor Solona doing great work here, fending off Jake Potts, also starting to get into a little bit of the action here as well. Oh boy, might be some more action developing up towards the front of the field. But frankly, it is all over this racetrack right now. Let's actually take a moment to ride on board here with Andy Ray Miller. Good action here from the 333 machine. A little sideways as he exits turn number 9, and sideways he goes out of turn 10. And that is going to cause a few drivers to get into one another here. But it is lap 2 of 7, and the top 3 starts to condense here a little bit. John Journey starting to see the rear. Starting to see Randolph Smith close in as we take a look out the rear wing. Quite literally. Oh, sideways here for the top of the field, and it just gets worse and worse here for John Journey, falling all the way to the bottom of the field, as Victor Solona, Marian Barbaro gonna take the front of the pack here. Both of these drivers with Get Good Racing taking the 1 and 2 spots here, securing good points for their team here in the sprint race. Middle of the pack here staying fairly condensed here on the second lap as we go through side by side, wheel to wheel action here between Grams, Pastore, Johnson. Graham's going to be out ahead of all of this. Malaire going to be able to get around Pastore as they come out of the final turn and onto the front straight across the white line. Bringing us lap number 3 of 75 here. Victor Solona, our current leader. Solona going to be with Team Get Good Racing, looking to secure those good points here along with his teammate Marian. Andre Solander going to be with Team Alcantech NHR. Also looking to score some good points here as Cody Grams trying to work his way up into the top 5 and beyond. Currently 5th place, going to be wheel to wheel with Randolph Smith here, almost pushing him out into the gravel there. Cody Grams able to stay out ahead of this into 4th place. Now working his way through turn 6 and onto the rear wing of Andre Solander. Good pace here for the 101 machine as Andre Solander looks to be a little bit slower at the moment as far as pace is concerned. Battles continuing here for third place here. Andre Solander. Cody Graham still up into third here. Johnson. Oh, Solander makes contact here with James Malaire. Sends him into the grass. Malaire trying to get that car stopped. Does a good job recovering it, getting back into the action here, but not without consequence. Falling down into 12th place here. Alex Johnson here, the 196 machine, our feature race winner, currently holding on to 4th place, trying to see if he can close in on the 101 of Cody Graham's. Corey Johnston. Yeah, you know, and sometimes it's a tough thing to see, but sometimes drivers are happy where they are. I can't speak for Alex Johnson, but I'm sure that he would do well in more competitive series than what we see here. And this isn't to say that the series that we have here isn't competitive, because it surely is by a lot of different measures. And as we've got side-by-side action here forming for Andre Solander, Jake Potts, wheel to wheel. Here as they go through turn 4, Potts almost dipping into the gravel there just a little bit, able to avoid it. Potts going to continue to stay on the inside here of the 140 machine, able to work his way up into 5th place now, having that inside line advantage. Able to work his way out ahead of the 140, getting in front of him. Now he's got to cut him off here, get in, take that line away. Ooh, they make contact just a little bit, rubbing wheels. The 140 having to back off there, falling back into 7th place now as Rachel Jimenez moves into 6th place. Rachel again with Team Lumos E Motorsports, all by her lonesome here today, looking to score some good points here for the number 67 driver. And it looks like Cody Graham's and Alex Johnson going to have a bit of a fight here for 3rd place as Johnson moves to the inside of the 101 machine. Graham's trying to do everything that he can to fend him off, but Johnson's got the advantage here as they move through turn 4. Graham's trying to get the switch up on Johnson here. Let's see if it's going to work for him. They go wheel to wheel with one another, fighting for the 3rd place spot. Johnson still having almost the advantage here. Graham's almost getting into the gravel, but not giving up and not without putting up a fight here. Graham's doing a phenomenal job in the 101 machine, fending off Johnson. And the white flag is out here at Red Bull Ring. It's the last lap for these drivers. For Alex Johnson, let's see if he's got what it takes here. As they make their way into turn number 3, Johnson onto the inside of Graham's. Graham's great work through turn 3. Excellent exit here from the 101 driver. Fantastic racing between these two. As Graham's continues to fight here, let's ride on board with the 196 of Johnson as they put up a phenomenal battle here for the final lap here at Red Bull Ring for our sprint race here for the iFormula League Formula 3 Series. the final 2 turns now, and Grams has this one packed and ready to go for his podium finish here at Red Bull Ring, ahead of Alex Johnson, the feature winner. Great finish from Cody Grams and Johnson. Victor Solona, an also impressive finish, as well as Marian Barbaro, both drivers with Team Get Good Racing coming away with fantastic finishes here today. And that, folks, is going to conclude our action here today at Red Bull Ring. Let's go ahead and take a look at our post-race results here for our sprint race. And there we see Victor Solano with the win, Marian Barbaro coming home with second place, and Cody Grams in third. Rounding out the top 3, you can see the rest listed down below. As we await to see if we are going to have any drivers making their way into the booth here for post-race interviews. And the first driver that we will have up here in the booth, Alex Johnson, coming home with the feature win here today, as well as 4th place in the sprint. Alex, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on your win here. Very, very impressive performance here from you in for Intend Sim Racing. Alex, you seem very confident out there today. You seem very practiced out there today. Did you have any doubt that you were going to come away with a win here today?
First of all, good evening. Yes, I did. I was not happy at all after practice. The car wasn't feeling to my liking at all, and I couldn't get it to work. I don't know what was wrong, but yeah, I wasn't very happy with the setup all weekend really. But yeah, I made the best out of a bad situation, and obviously race 1 was a sweater until Cody got the slowdown right before the pit stops in heat 1. He was hunting me, and he was quicker. But yeah, I could keep him off in that, and obviously in race 2 he could keep me off. But honestly, race 2, that was so much fun.
Yeah, it looks like a fantastic race the second time around. I kind of said it during the broadcast, after the first incident, the biggest collision that we had in the feature race, that kind of put a mull on the rest of the racing for the rest of the 28 laps. It was the field was just all sorts of spread out. The battles weren't really there, but the sprint race was a different interpretation of that. It was the exact opposite, and it was a great thing to see. It was great to see the drivers, yourself included, able to actually get into some battles and actually have some racing for the 7 laps that we had here for our sprint race. But Alex, you've dominated both this race here today as well as last week at Monza. I mean, you've had great performances, and from what I hear, you are just quite the driver to have around here, and currently dominating the Drivers' Championship here at the moment. What do you hope to accomplish here with this season, and what do you hope to accomplish going forward in your sim racing career?
Obviously, I just want to win the season now. I think in the championship, I'm quite a bit ahead, to be honest. So yeah, hoping to wrap that up rather sooner than later, but we'll see when that happens. Wow. For other in general sim racing, I don't really have any big ambitions. I want to run with the #1 car here next season, hopefully.
Absolutely.
We'll see about that, but yeah, I hope so. And yeah, I don't have any ambitions like Pesk or anything like that. I enjoy the F3 car, and I enjoy when it's a bit more chill like these races are, and not super duper giga competitive like Pesk would be, for instance, and whatever. So So yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it here, and of course, big shout out to the entire organizing team here for making it happen every week.
Absolutely. Well, Alex, before I let you go here and do your celebrating, is there anyone that you want to shout out and thank before you go?
Thanks to the team. Thanks to my mate Jesper, who helped me a little bit with setup this week. I hope he was watching. Shout out to Cody for that awesome second race. And also the first race, he was driving fantastic today. And yeah, shout out to the sponsors as well. Yeah, all in all, can't complain. Good weekend, good points. Bring on next race. I think we're going to Hungaroring next, so it's a track I really, really like.
Well, I look forward to seeing you there and hopefully get to talk to you again. I'm sure I most likely will. But Alex, thank you for joining me up in the booth, and I look forward to talking to you next week.
Yep, certainly. See you then.
Absolutely. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Alrighty, folks. So that was Alex Johnson coming home with the win for our feature race here today. Up next, we are going to have, let's see here, we will have James, we'll go in order. We'll go with Cody Grams next year, taking home second place here in the feature race and third in the sprint. Cody, welcome to the booth and congratulations on both of your performances here today. A fantastic performance here from the 101 machine, and for your team as well, for Team Knox. I mean, it was a great day overall, I think, for yourself as well as for your teammates. I mean, run me a little bit through the preparation that you guys did for this week's race.
To be honest, I didn't do a lot since the officials were just here about a month ago, and I had a really safe setup to use, so I wasn't too concerned with getting too much practice in. I know Jake and James did quite a bit of practice yesterday getting ready for today. I was surprised how little grip the track had compared to the practice I was doing. So that was something to get used to, but there was some really good racing with Alex there. I almost caught him in the feature, but got me a slowdown, and that pretty much did it in for me. I could see he was struggling with his rears, so I made that push, and fortunately pushed a little bit too hard, and he was much faster than I was on cold tires. So after the pit stop, I knew it was pretty much over, so I just made sure to not make any mistakes, and sprint race was pretty wild. Had a couple close calls there, but really good racing with Alex. Holding around the outside was nice. I don't normally race people like that because usually they will push you off the track, but Alex is respectful, so it makes for good racing. Hopefully it was entertaining on the broadcast.
It most certainly was. Hopefully it'll be entertaining to watch back if you plan on doing that here in the future. But Cody, you did phenomenal here today. You did phenomenal last week when I saw you at Monza. What do you hope to accomplish going forward next week into what I believe is Hungaroring? It's going to be kind of I'd say a little bit more technical than what we saw here. I mean, obviously you'd have a little bit more knowledge in that than myself, as I haven't really raced there much myself. But what do you hope to accomplish next week, and what do you expect to see next week?
I would expect to see more of the same. To me, this track and Hungaroring have a very similar feel. The surface is really, really smooth. Hungaroring just kind of feels like a little bit bigger version of what Red Bull Ring is. So I expect Alex to be just as fast like always, and hopefully I can keep it on the podium, and James and Jake can mix it up as well.
Absolutely. Well, Cody, before I let you go here and before you celebrate with your teammates and fellow drivers, is anyone you want to shout out and thank here before you go?
Yeah, the Knox guys and the whole team. It's been a good season so far, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me up here in the booth with Cody, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Yep, take care.
Alrighty, folks, that was Cody Grams out of the booth here, taking home both second place in the feature as well as third in our sprint race here today. And last and certainly not going to be least here today, at least who we've got up here in the waiting room for us today, James Miller. Right. In the number 9 machine, coming up here in the booth. Sorry to cut you off there, James, but congratulations on your finish here today, both third place in the feature race. Not quite as good in the sprint, coming home in 9th place. Probably not exactly what you were hoping for, but it was definitely a lot more action that we saw in the sprint race compared to the feature. Just a very different dynamics, both races that we saw here. But James, what kind of expectations did you have coming into tonight, and did you meet those expectations?
Yeah, top 5 was really what we were hoping for. When we got out there today, it was slick. It was not a whole lot of grip to be found. So being the incident that happened on lap 1, I think there was a wreck from Marion behind us who got into the side of us a little bit. It created a roadblock. And it kind of sprung me away from the pack, and I was 3 seconds away from the top 3 or so. So it just turned into a Sunday drive, right? Don't get off tracks, don't overcook the tires, don't get any penalties on pit lane, that kind of thing. So a little boring, to say the least. You'd rather win a P3 than kind of be given one, but that's a podium nonetheless, and I'm always happy with those.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to take them when they come to you. But James, looking forward next week into Hungaroring, talking a little bit with your teammate Cody Grams. It's more or less the same kind of track, same sort of experience that we're looking forward to. How do you think that's going to play out? Do you think we're going to see any sort of major incidents in the first lap of the race, that it's kind of going to set the same tone as what we saw here today? Or do you think drivers are kind of going to have a little bit of be a little anxious about that and kind of try and avoid that next week?
I guarantee it. Between the first whole sector and a half at Hungaroring can be a nightmare when you're side by side, and I just think I think you'll be seeing yellow flags, honestly, on that first lap. But I haven't been there in a while. It's been a long time since I've driven there. Had decent pace last time I was there. It's really going to be dependent upon what we figure out with the setup and things like that. But we're looking forward to it. It was a great haul for Lumos Motorsports today. I think we had 2, 3, 4 in the main, and then in the sprint race, I don't know, we got three points again. So to be able to triple up in back-to-back races was great. I think that regained our lead in the league, and we'll be ready.
Absolutely. Well, James, I want to thank you for joining me up here in the booth, and before I let you go and do your celebrating with your teams and drivers, anyone you want to shout out and thank before you go here today?
I know, just the team, obviously, first and foremost, everybody at Lumos, sister team, everybody at Knox, putting in work and time, and of course, league owner Alex Shanna, running a tight ship and making this possible for everybody every weekend. So that's it. I appreciate you guys broadcasting, and I'll see you in the booth soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me up here, James, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
You as well. Thanks, sir.
Alrighty, folks. James Miller coming out of the booth here, taking home 3rd place here in the feature and 9th in the sprint race here today. And that is going to conclude our coverage of today's race here today, round number 5 of the iFormula League Formula 3 Series here at Red Bull Ring. My name is Mason Heinball with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here today. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all next week, same time and same place. Thank you all, and see you next week.
Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Folks. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Morcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got 3-wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Like to go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone, and he's over.
Smooth stuff. Cody Grams, the 1-on-1, up into 2nd place. Alex Johnson, 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, just insane.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons